Kumar, coordinator of software cell of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering. On behalf of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering, I welcome you all for this webinar. This is our series, the first series of the lockdown webinars. So this is the third week we are conducting this webinar. I welcome you all for this wonderful series of webinar. Before introducing the guest speaker, few instruction to you all. Throughout the webinar, I request all of you to mute your audio to avoid the disturbances. You can mute your video to reduce the bandwidth usage. At the end of the webinar session, we will be providing time to ask the questions and clear your doubts. At that time, you can unmute your audio and you can raise your questions. At the same time, you can type your queries in the chat window. So those queries will be addressed by the resource person at the end of the webinar. Then we already posted all the certificates of the previous webinars. So hope you received everything. With this instruction, I like to introduce the guest speaker of today's session. Today the guest speaker is Engineer Suja A. Alex. She is working as the Assistant Professor in Information Technology Department of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering. She completed his graduation in Information Technology and Master degree in ME Computer Science and Engineering. ME Computer Science and Engineering. And currently she is doing her PhD under Anna University, Chennai. She has been in the teaching profession for the past 11 years. Her area of interest are data mining and neural networks. Today, she is going to present a webinar on data stream clustering with R. So with this brief introduction, I welcome Suja Alex Madam to address the gatherings. Welcome, Madam.
Thank you, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah, audible, Madam.
Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, I would like to thank Software Cell of our college for giving opportunity to host webinar. I am Suja Alex, Assistant Professor, working in St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering. Today's session, I am going to explain about data stream clustering with R. Now, let me know what is data stream mining. Data stream mining is an active research area that discovers knowledge from large amount of continuously generated data. So data stream mining solves various streaming problems like calculating moments, counting distinct elements, and online learning. So let's move on to the session and we can see in detail. So in this session, I am planning to discuss about introduction to machine learning, what is clustering, what is K-means algorithm, then introduction to data stream concept, then various challenges in stream processing. Then we can move on to online clustering framework. Finally, I will show a small demo in R language. First, what is machine learning? Machine learning is an application of artificial intelligence. So it makes the system to learn from experience. So here we can see the difference between supervised and unsupervised learning. So in supervised learning, the input data is labeled one. It requires some training data set to train the network or some model. So once the model is trained with this training data set, it can able to predict its outcome of a future outcome of our new data. So example techniques are classification and regression. Next we move on to unsupervised learning. So in unsupervised learning, there is no need of labeled data set. We can simply send our actual input data to our model. So the model going to do some process called finding of a hidden structure inside the data set. So and finally it produces the results. It can be of either clusters or it may generate the reduced representation of data set. So the example algorithms are clustering and dimensionality reduction. Now see what is cluster. So clustering is the task of dividing the population into number of groups. So how this clustering is done? Clustering is based on the similarity measure to group similar data objects. The similarity measure is based on various distance functions. You are familiar with the distance functions like Euclidean distance, Manhattan distance, Minkowski distance. Those formulas can be used to find the distance between the data point and the cluster mean. So an ideal clustering process, how it looks. So ideal clustering process must minimize the intra-cluster distance and always maximize the inter-cluster distance. Now let me see with an example. Here I have a data set. So in this data set, we have 4 attributes: toy, shape, color, and make. So now the task is I'm going to give this data set to 3 different persons. Let me see how they are going to do clustering process over this data set. So first person generates 3 clusters from this data set. The second person generates 2 clusters from this data set. The 5 clusters from this data set. So now we will get little confusion. That is, which one is correct? Actually, all 3 clustering are correct. The concept behind this clustering is, we are familiar with that of classification and regression. So those techniques full and full depends on a variable called target variable. So we can do the training process full and full depends on the target variable. But in clustering, there is no setting of a target variable from a given set of variables. So here we have the variables toy, shape, color, and make. We are not going to set any variable as a target variable. So based on any variable, we can do clustering process. This is a major concept behind the clustering process. Now we can see the types of clustering algorithms. First one is partitioning clustering algorithm. So partitioning clustering means that is the given data set is divided into number of clusters. For example, we have a data set has n elements. The n elements going to be clustered in k number of clusters. And each cluster has a centroid, or we call it as mean. So how these data elements will be placed in different clusters. So each data object is calculated with the distance measure with the centroid. Based on the closest distance, it will be assigned. Some of the example algorithms are k-means and k-midwives algorithm. Second one is density-based clustering algorithm. It does not require the parameter k. Here we are not going to set number of clusters at the beginning time. So k is not fixed. So without this k value, this density-based algorithm finds clusters. So how it will find means, it will simply go through the density distribution pattern of the data set, and finally it produces low density clusters and high density clusters. Some of the example algorithms are DBSCAN and optics. The third one is hierarchical clustering. So in the hierarchical clustering, the duty is to find hierarchy or tree structure type of clusters. So in this, we have the algorithms Birch and Cure. Next, fourth category is grid-based clustering algorithm. So this grid-based clustering algorithm, what it will do is, it simply defines a set of grid cells, and also it assigns some data objects to appropriate cells. After assigning the data to appropriate cells, it will do the process of density calculation. So it will calculate density for each and every cell, and it will check for its eligibility. So if a grid cell has less density below a particular threshold, will be removed from the clustering process. This is the basic concept behind the grid-based clustering algorithm. Some of the examples are Stink and Click. And final one is model-based clustering algorithm. So in this model-based clustering algorithm, we are going to use a special model called as mathematical model. So we will provide our input data to the mathematical model. The mathematical model going to adopt all the data and finally produce clustered representation. So how means, the mathematical model, we may have some parameters. So those parameters will be determined with the help of some estimation methods like maximum likelihood, expectation maximization. So those concepts, mathematical concepts, can be applied to estimate the mathematical, that is the model parameters. Once the model parameter is optimized, then we can get the correct clusters. So in this way, we can fit all our data in a mathematical model. Example algorithms are EM, expectation maximization algorithm, and self-organizing map. Okay, now let's move on to K-means clustering algorithm. So what is this K-means clustering algorithm? It's an iterative algorithm. Here, one important parameter is called K. So K denotes number of clusters we want at the end. For example, I am fixing the value for K is 5 means I am going to generate 5 clusters at the end. So once the value is fixed, according to the value of K, the centroid will be chosen. If I am having 5 clusters, K is equal to 5 means I can choose 5 centroid values randomly from the input data set. So C1, C2, C3, C4 up to and C5. So these centroid is otherwise called as average, or we can call mean. So now we have the 5 centroids randomly chosen from the data set. The next important step is to find the Euclidean distance between each data point and the cluster centroid and all the cluster centroids. Then you have to find the minimum distance. So based on the minimum distance, the data points are assigned to the closest cluster centroid. So in the next iteration, you have to recompute the cluster centroids and do the same process. So when the algorithm stops, in the iterative algorithm, it has to be stopped at some particular condition. So there are two situations. So when the algorithm stops, only when all data objects are grouped, there is no more objects to be unclassified, unclustered, or no change in the cluster centroid values. That is, during multiple iterations, we may get the same centroid values. Means the meaning is all the data elements in the data set will be perfectly clustered into different clusters. So at that time, we can. Okay, next we can move on to a specific domain, data stream. What do you mean data stream? Data stream is a continuously arriving data flow from various data sources. For example, data produced in a dynamic environments like network traffic, stock exchange, video surveillances, Google queries, and sensor data from IoT networks. So these dynamic environments always, every fraction of a second, it generates millions of data. Those data are called as data stream. Next, the question is how we are going to handle this type of stream data analysis. So now we can discuss various challenges in stream processing. First, we will be familiar with our existing DBMS concept. So in traditional database management system, we have a data, we have stored some databases in a data disk, or we can store in a repository. So whenever we want to do some analysis process over the existing data set, we will simply apply the algorithm, any machine learning algorithm over the data set stored in the disk, then we can get some results. This is the easiest one when compared to this. So, but in the case of streams, we are getting real-time data. So when the data is coming on the fly, we have to process immediately. That is a major challenge behind the stream processing. So we have to process elements in real time or online manner. And one more important problem is here is constant change. That is, a data stream is a live data stream. Its distribution may change time to time. So it has to be detected earlier and should be handled properly. Okay, now we can see data stream processing methods. Here the goal is to compute statistics in one pass with limited memory space. So the goal of this data stream processing methods is, that is, we cannot apply our machine learning algorithm directly over the stream. So before applying the real machine learning algorithm over that, we are going to do some pre-processing kind of task called as data stream process. So it derives the useful properties or statistics from a data stream. So from that we can do various algorithms, the machine learning algorithms we can easily apply. So we have some methods called random sampling, time window model, and histogram. So now we will see one by one. First one is random sampling. Sampling is the process of extracting sample from the population. The sample must be a good representative for the entire data stream. Because we are not going to process the entire data stream, the sample only give the results. So the chosen sample must be a high quality one. It has to derive all the features and basic properties of the parent data stream. That is very important. So choosing a best sample is a difficult task. So we have some random sampling algorithms are there. First one is fixed random sampling. It's very common. So in this type of fixed random sampling or simple random sampling, we will select a fixed number of example. We have n number of elements in the data set. We are going to pick only first 10. That is called as fixed sampling. Here we are going to use, I'm going to explain reservoir sampling approach. This is another approach. So in the reservoir sampling approach, we're not going to fix from 1 to 10. We are going to fix the values randomly. That is, we are going to fix some size of the buffer. Buffer is called reservoir, where I am going to place some n number of values from the data stream. Those n elements were picked randomly from the data stream. That is very, very important. Here we are randomly picking, not we are going to fix the number of values from top to 1 to 10. We are fixing randomly 10 numbers from the data stream. So how it works? How the reservoir sampling basic principle is, first it stores n elements into the reservoir. Insert the kth element from the stream in a random spot of the reservoir with probability n by k. Okay, now we can see window model. Time window model. So since the data stream is non-stationary, the distribution or the concept of the data changes over time always. That we should know that. So two types of concept change occurs in the streams. First one is concept drift. Second one is concept shift. So concept drift means the data stream gradually change its distribution from one form to another form. For example, initially it will be of uniform distribution. Gradually it will be changed to Gaussian distribution. It may happen. This type of distribution change is called as concept drift. The second problem is called concept shift. So here the distribution change occurs suddenly without any gradually parameter. It simply changed suddenly. So for example, we may take some readings for particular duration, particular distribution. Instantly we may get different types of data. That is called as concept shift. So this is also a major problem in data stream. Okay, next we can see about some of the solutions. So how we are going to handle this type of problem, concept drift and shift, it's a major one. With the help of this time window model, we can easily capture these concept change problems. So there are four types of time window models. First one is damped time window model. Second one is sliding window model. Third one is landmark window model. Fourth one is pyramidal time window model. The first one is damped window model. So in the damped window model, we are going to assign some weight to each and every elements of the stream. And here always we will provide highest weights to the recent element. So when we get more number of recent elements, we'll concentrate only on giving weights to the recent elements. Automatically, the older elements will be getting a lesser weight. So here this black circle denotes the most recent data having highest weight. The graph, when we have this white circle, at the last we get white circle. This white circle denotes a less weight. It's the most older stream element. So in this way, we can identify which one is the recent element, which one is the older element. We can easily find with the help of this model. Second window model is sliding window model. So this sliding window model is used to process infinite data streams in a very small space. So it computes statistics or properties of the data arrived in a window. So in the example, We have time slots, time 1, time 2, time 3, time 4, time 5. We are getting streams continuously. So how we are going to do this window means we are going to assign the window size over this stream. We are not capture the entire stream at the same time. So I am going to use the window size. Here I am setting window size 3. So first green color box denotes I am fetching 3 elements at time t1, t2, t3. So before applying this, at the initial time, I will take some properties. That's called as at time t1, I will get with the help of first window, I will get some properties. Then at the end of the window, at time t3 also, I will get another information from this string. Similarly, at the end of the second scan, when the window moves one by one, we can get at time 5, I will get another window. So these these 3 windows store statistics or properties of the incoming data stream elements. Third one is the landmark model. So this landmark model determines the data flow from the limit 0 to particular time. So in the case of sliding window model, we will get within this, we are not going to measure the data continuously. Within a random time only based on sliding window size, we will store the window. We will store the properties. But in the landmark model, we will fix a particular duration. We will fix a landmark from 0 to 10 minutes or some 0 to 5 hours. We can set some time. So within the time, we can measure the data continuously. This is the main use of landmark model. So here I am setting 13. So I can set from t minus the particular duration from t to t minus 1. We can get some of the values. Then t minus 2, we can get some of the stream elements. So in that way, we can go up to t minus 13. Here I have set the value is 13. My landmark is 13. So we can move up to t minus 13. So in that way also we can capture few data and we can get some statistics. Next, the fourth one is pyramidal time window model. So in the pyramidal time window model, it's based on a concept called as pyramidal time frame. So pyramidal time frame going to capture snapshots at different time. So here during this statistics reading time, we may get different snapshots. That is, normally this type of pyramidal time frame will be used in clustering process. We'll see later. So those we will necessity of identifying number of clusters will be formed at a particular time. So it is very useful during clustering process. So these snapshots once it is collected, then it will be classified into different orders from 1 to log t. Here in this table it shows I have taken 5 snapshots. So for the first one, I got some snapshots with the duration 55 minutes. I get one snapshot, 54 minutes I get another snapshot, 53 minutes I get another. So 5 snapshots I have got. Similarly, I have entered all these things. Once this is over, then we can go in for the priority. So the number of the particular snapshot, we can get more number of snapshots. So 0 is the highest one, 1 is the next highest one. Next we have the lower values 2 and 3. Because at snapshot 3, it is captured only for less time only. The third one is the histogram. So what is a histogram? Histogram is a graphical representation of the distribution of data. So this histogram going to estimate the probability distribution of a random variable. So one of the example is an exponential histogram. It is going to be useful for solving counting problems. So this duty of this histogram is simply it measures number of times a particular stream element repeated. So it will be counted. The repeatedness will be calculated with the help of this histogram based. Okay, let's now move on to algorithms. Now let's move on to stream learning algorithms. We are familiar with the existing supervised learning and unsupervised learning algorithms. Now we will see how we are going to use this supervised learning and supervised learning in online case. First, we can discuss about the difficulties. When we use the existing classification, regression, clustering, frequent pattern, item set mining, PCA algorithm over the stream data, what are the difficulties we may get? First, we can discuss, then we go for the solution. So, first one is classification. So, in the classification and regression, we all know that we have to set a target variable. And this classification and regression algorithm needs some training data set. So here in the case of data streams, there is no training data set. The actual data stream, the infinite data stream is going to be given to the classification and regression algorithm. So how is this possible? So normally we think that one way is we can simply pass each and every element one by one to this classification and regression algorithm. For example, I am giving the first element to classification regression algorithm, it do some operation. Similarly, for second element, I am giving it do some operation. Third element. So in that way, we can train the classification and regression algorithm. So normally we know that we can easily construct this type of algorithms with the help of Bayesian models and neural networks. So Bayesian models, the fundamental concept is conditional probability. So in the case of classification and regression, whenever we are getting an input stream element, the conditional probability must be calculated. When I'm getting when the algorithm getting second stream element, again we have to recompute the conditional probability. So whenever I'm getting the stream element, continuously we have to recalculate the conditional probability. It's the toughest one. That is, complexity is high. The second way of implementation is neural network. So in the neural network also, we know that first we have to train with some training data. So in order to perform classification or regression task. So here also, instead of training data set, I am going to give the entire data stream. When I am giving this, first I will give the first stream element, next second stream element. So when you pass these stream elements one by one to this neural network, the neural network duty is to do some nonlinear operations and produce some results. Then the results will be fed back to this input in order to optimize the weight values. So we have to recompute whenever the new stream elements given to neural network, its network should be repeatedly optimized. It's a tedious task. Then in the case of unsupervised learning, we know that clustering algorithm, frequent item set mining, and PCA algorithm. In the case of clustering, we know that, for example, if it's a k-means clustering algorithm, in the case of static data set, we can easily fix the value of k. Suppose in the case of streaming algorithm, it's very hard to fix k value is 10 or 15 because data streams coming continuously. So we cannot fix the value. Otherwise we need to go for some optimization algorithm to find the value of k. So clustering is also, whenever we are getting new stream element, the cluster shape and number of clusters will be of either increasing, goes on. So it's a tedious task to manage. This is one problem. So second one, next one is frequent item set mining. So in the frequent item set mining, before calculating the final frequent item set, we'll go for repeatedly calculating the candidate item set. So here also, for every stream element, we have to create a candidate item set. For second stream element also, we have to create candidate item set. So in that way, for each and every stream element, it is very hard to calculate the candidate item set. It's also a tedious task. Then the last one is PCA. Normally, this principal component analysis, it will be useful for feature extraction. So here, whether we can apply this PCA to directly to stream is normally difficult. If we apply to directly to stream, that is, we may face the difficulty that first we get the first data stream element. It will be given to this PCA algorithm. The PCA algorithm finds the covariance matrix. So whenever it gets this the new stream element, then it recalculates the covariance matrix. So normally it finds a feature vector with the help of covariance matrix. So once the covariance matrix is fixed, from this it calculates eigenvector, then it finds eigenvalues. So the eigenvector denotes the direction of feature space, and this eigenvalue represent the magnitude of the feature space. So this is the case. But if you apply this in our data stream concept, we have to repeatedly find the covariance matrix whenever we receive a data stream element. So this is a problem behind PCA algorithm when we done for data stream concept. So what we can do? But anyway, we have to apply classification, regression, clustering, frequent item set mining, and PCA over the data stream. But how it is possible? It is possible because we are going to use all the algorithms in online. So when we go for this type of online classification, online regression, online clustering, online frequent item set mining, then online PCA, then we can easily capture and we can easily apply all the machine learning algorithms over that is, indirectly we can apply over data stream. Okay, now let's move on to data stream clustering process. So what is data stream clustering? That is, we are going to form clusters from continuous data stream. So always a good clustering process must use small memory and limited time, because here in the case of streams, we are not going to store anywhere. So always within a short time and within a small memory, we have to finish the clustering process. So some of the challenges, we need a single pass clustering algorithm. The algorithm should finish the time in a limited time, and it has to be used only limited memory. So with this criteria, we have to do clustering process over data stream. Okay, now we can see what is micro clustering. Actually, micro clustering is an important concept. It's a data structure where it is used in data stream clustering process. Actually, this micro clustering is derived from the concept called as CFV, cluster feature vector. So cluster feature vector is nothing but it's a combination of three components: number of points in the cluster n, and linear sum of all data points called LS, and sum of squared of data items called SS. So n, LS, SS. These three components will form one feature called as cluster feature. So we are going to use some temporal extension, that is time. Temporal means the sign, time-based representation of this same CF in order to capture our data streams. So here we call it as microcluster. So microcluster has 5 components: N, LS, SS, temporal LS, and temporal SS. Okay, let's move on to online clustering framework. So here we have the input called data stream. How we are going to process in online, now we can see. So the first step is abstraction step. So the abstraction step is otherwise called as online component. Here we are going to extract various statistics or properties where we are using some streaming algorithms. We have previous slides, we have seen data streaming algorithms. So those stream processing algorithms can be applied over the data stream. From this we can extract some useful properties or some statistics that will be stored in a special data structure called, for example, microcluster form we can represent. So those extracted statistics will be stored in a special data structure. Next, the last step is we are going to do an offline component. So in the offline component, we are going to apply the algorithm called k-means, or any of the clustering algorithms we can apply to find k number of clusters. Okay, next we can see about two-phase clustering approach. So what is a two-phase clustering approach? The name is, that is actually we have two phases, online phase and offline phase. So it is called as two-phase clustering approach. In the online phase, as we have seen in the previous slides, we are going to generate micro clusters, and in the offline phase, we are going to generate macro clusters from these micro clusters using some clustering algorithms. So this diagram clearly shows how the macro cluster is formed from a incoming data stream. Now the example, I'm going to do the online k-means clustering with the help of two concepts. One is reservoir sampling. There is reservoir sampling. We have seen that it's one of these stream processing method. This reservoir sampling directly goes to work on the data stream. It finds some statistics, and also I'm going to store this in a special data structure called microcluster. From this we can do k-means algorithm. So in the phase 1 is the online phase. We can apply reservoir sampling technique to generate microclusters. The phase 2, offline phase, we can apply any of the clustering algorithm. Here I am going to use the same k-means algorithm over these microclusters to find the macro clusters. Okay, how we are going to do this k-means algorithm in R language? Now let me discuss the steps involved in this process. First, we have to install the package stream from CRAN repository. The second step, we have to load the package stream to our program. And the third step, we have to generate stream data. Then fourth step, we can do the clustering process. So create micro clusters using reservoir random sampling technique. So actually this is the online phase. Then in step 5, we can recluster the micro clusters using k-means algorithm. It's an offline phase. So, and finally, we can evaluate our clustering quality. So normally every clustering process ends with some performance measure. Here I will see with this some evaluation metrics. So now let me show the snapshot of the demo. So this is the way to install the package stream from CRAN repository. So now we can execute the code. First, we have to load the package. Use the function library of stream. Next, I'm going to create random data stream. It's the Gaussian based random data stream. So using the function DSD Gaussian. So those data streams, once it is prepared, once it is generated, it will be stored in the variable called stream. So from this stream, I'm going to generate 30 number of microclusters. So we will use a function called DSC sample. That is data stream clustering. DSC sample of k equal to 30. So k value denotes number of microclusters we want. We can also give 20, 10 or 50 as we wish. So here I have given 30 microclusters we want. So those clusters will be generated using the concept called as the reservoir sampling approach. So based on reservoir sampling approach, it generates 30 microclusters and stored in a microcluster variable. So once it is ready, then these microclusters will be useful for updating, storing all the 500. Here I am setting 500 random variable, 500 values. There is 500 random Gaussian data. Because I am not going to process any real-time data. It's only a simulation data. For that purpose, I'm going to use a limit. My stream length is 500. So these 500 stream elements going to be adopted over different microclusters. 30 microclusters, it will be updated or perfectly fitted. So with the help of update function. So after this microcluster creation, we can just visualize it with the help of a plot function. So plot of microclusters stream with the title microclustering. So we can get the graph like this. Here the graph is a two-dimensional space and each rectangular circle denotes microclusters. When you all count this, we could see 30 number of microclusters because we have given the code like k is equal to 30. So now k microclusters were formed. Okay, the next step is after the computation of microclusters. Now we finish stream processing and we perfectly stored these in a microcluster data structure. We have stored. The next step is we are going to apply any one of the clustering algorithm. So here I am going to apply k-means algorithm. So using the function in the R language, we have DSC-k-mean. Here I am giving the value k equal to 3. 3 means number of clusters we want and the output. So 3 means I have given 3 value. So recluster. Next function is recluster. So recluster function duty is to simply merge all the microclusters and finally produce macroclusters. So because the microcluster has the property of additive property. So based on the additive property only, we can merge 2 clusters or 3 clusters when we are closer to each other. Then we can have a final 3 clusters with the help of k-means algorithm. So this plot function also shows how these macroclusters were formed from this existing microclusters. This plus symbol denotes the centroid of the 3 microclusters. So this plus symbol denotes 3 microclusters with this mean. So once this macro clustering is over, our duty is to evaluate how our clustering algorithm works, whether it's good or bad, whether we are satisfied with this clustering process, we have to evaluate. With the help of a function called evaluate of k-means, the results and stream with the initial data stream, and we are going to measure the parameter. I'm going to use some squared error SSQ, and for testing purpose, the evaluation purpose, I'm going to use 300 data points, random data points. So these evaluate function, what will do is it will apply the evaluate function, apply these 300 data stream points samples over all the microclusters. It will fit to 30 microclusters and generate the k-means based macroclusters. Then we find the results. So based on that, it will check the error. So here I'm getting 2.98 something as error. So if I want to increase this, either I have to change the number of microclusters or I have to go for better, I can go for increasing the number of macroclusters. So in that way, we can increase or we can change the algorithms. Instead of this reservoir sampling, I can going for some other approach, biased approach or sliding window approach. So based on different types of stream processing algorithms, we can get different types of clustering result. So in this way, we can do our work, we can do the data stream clustering with the help of various data stream processing methods. So whereby we can easily apply the traditional machine learning algorithms over the stream indirectly, and we can get the analysis result. These are the references. I hope you all understood the session. Any question, answers? Thank you.
Thank you, madam, for the wonderful presentation. Before going into the query session, a few instruction to you. At the end of the session, the feedback form link will be given to you. Please enter your feedback. While entering your feedback, please take care on your personal data, because using that data only we are creating the certificate. So don't the entering the feedback is mandatory to get the certificate. Now the audience can raise your queries or questions. You can use the chat window, or you can unmute your audio and you can ask the questions. Please. Audience, please ask your queries. You can unmute your audio and you can ask the queries, or you can type your queries in the chat window. Madam, a lot of positive comments regarding your presentation.
Okay, sir.
Many positive comments. Nice presentation, madam. Well done,
Thanks.
madam.
Thank you, sir.
The participants, please type your queries in the chat window or unmute your audio and you can ask the questions. When all of them know your mobile number, so they may be contacting you regarding in this. So a few more instruction to the participants. And now the Anthony sir will be sharing the feedback entry link. Please make the entry. It is mandatory. Then some more announcements. Today from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. there is a webinar on developing interpersonal skills. So it is meant for both staff members and the students. So please attend it. This webinar is hosted by St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering in association with ICT Academy of Tamil Nadu. So we will be getting a combined certificate of Xavier's College of Engineering and ICT Academy of Tamil Nadu for this webinar. Then tomorrow morning, tomorrow during noon, 12 p.m. to 1 p.m. we have a webinar on how secured are we in internet. So it is very important topic. We all are now moving to the digital world. So in this digital world, how secured we are in this internet, that is a very important topic. So you can important and interesting topic also. So I request all of you join that webinar also. Then tomorrow afternoon, again from 2 p.m. to 3 p.m. an webinar in association with ICT Academy of Tamil Nadu and St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering. There is a industry expectation from students. What is the industry expecting from the students? So it is a webinar for both student and the staff members. So I request all of you to join for this. So here also at the end of the session, getting a feedback link. After entering the feedback, you will be receiving the certificate. So all the webinars conducted by the software cell of St. Xavier's Catholic College of Engineering will be displayed in this link, that is xxcc.edu.in/software-cell. So in this page, every information will be there, and after the live session, the recorded section will be added here. So please go through this this web page for the latest information, and all the webinars we will be providing the e-certificates. So for that link will be provided for entering your feedback. From that data we will be issuing the e-certificate within 1 or 2 days. Then from the host, Varun sir, any instruction you have to give regarding this webinar?
Sir, one question in the chat window for ma'am. Will you give an example to relate IoT with the stream processing? Suja ma'am?
IoT with stream processing. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can do. Actually, we have to identify the what type of data we are going to get from the IoT, whether it's a sensor, we may be of sensor data. So first we should know the what type of data we are going to get it. So based on type of data, we can choose the stream processing algorithm. Then we can do machine learning algorithm.
Anthony sir, any instruction we have to give? Anthony sir? Anthony sir? Audience, please wait. I will check how many feedbacks were entered till now. See, more than 85 participants participated today's session. I request all the participants to enter the feedback. Till now, around 69 feedbacks were entered. So entering the feedback is mandatory. So for the rest of the webinars also, while you are entering the entering to the webinar room, please mute your audio, and you have to enter with a variable name, because on seeing that only we will be permitting you to enter the webinar room. Madam, any concluding remark, madam?
Yes, sir. I would like to thank our management, software cell members, and our HOD. Thank you, participants, for your presence. Thank you all.
Okay, thank you very much, madam. I thank Sujalex madam for the wonderful presentation, as well as he prepared well and clearly given the presentation. Thank you very much, madam. Also, I thank the host of this today's webinar, Varun, for his wonderful work hosting it and doing all the other preparatory work for this webinar. Also, I thank our system administrator Anthony Jones Kumar, because without his help we are not able to do these webinars. He is doing all the background activities. Thank you, Anthony sir. Thank you, Varun. Also, I thank Andros madam, the member of Software Cell, for helping us for conducting this webinar. Also, I thank the management, principal, deans, HODs, and staff members of all the department for helping us. Also, I thank all the participants, because without you, we cannot conduct this webinar successfully. So I thank all the participants for your participation. Thank you very much for all of you. I request all of you join with us at 2 o'clock. The link will be available in the same web page of our software cell, that is xlccedu.in/software-cell. So till then, goodbye. Thank you. Varun, any more instructions?
No, sir. Shall we wind up?
Yeah, okay, we can wind up.
Okay, thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.